Okay, hello everyone, MeanSpeed here with another video. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list for all the widgets in Battlefield Heroes. And obviously you can see here, there's a lot here, there's a lot of widgets in the game. And I'm going to try and make this, I guess, a shorter video than the previous ones, but obviously every time I say that, they seem to stay the same. So yeah, anyway, so let's get into this. So some of these are going to be easy for me to choose, just because there are some widgets that just really make a difference and an impact on gameplay, and some of them are, borderline game breaking and just annoying and stuff like that. And some of them here are just pretty harmless. They're just here for just, I guess, a cosmetic or just some sort of effect, just to have fun with and to mess around with. So yeah, let's get into it. So the bandage is going to go in S for me. Yeah, not much else really that you can say other than that. It's been in the game for the longest amount of time. Everyone uses it. Everyone knows how good it is. It's reliable. If you're in a lot of situations where you're low on health, there's no soldiers around, and you just got a bit of downtime in between fights, you can just use a bandage, and it'll be really useful to you. It'll heal pretty well. I'm not, by the way, obviously you can see here, I'm not putting all the different types of bandages and stuff. I just thought I'd go with the standard ones, the ones most people remember, because obviously the other ones were like, from the closed beta and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, they sort of went up in quality for the most part. Yeah, but the bandage is really useful as well for healing off certain abilities. You can obviously stop burning bullets with that and fit other things as well in the game. So yeah, bandages are very useful. It goes around saying that most people will bring bandages with them into a game. Okay, wrench. I'm actually going to put that lower. I'm going to put that in A tier, just because I don't really use vehicles a lot. Obviously, this is basically the vehicle equivalent of, it's like a vehicle bandage, whatever. But yeah, I don't use vehicles very much, so I don't really have much use for them. But having said that, I do sort of recognize their usefulness and how good they can be, especially if someone is, being a bit annoying with a tank or whatever, and they're proving to be quite difficult to get rid of. And obviously, using wrenches quite quickly or quite often can be quite a problem. So yeah, I do see it as a bit of a threat still, but to me personally, I'm not going to put it very high, well, much higher than that, because I just don't use them very much. Okay, tonic. Yeah, that's got to be an S tier. Everyone hates tonics, right? I mean, tonics were one of the main starting arguments for the game being pay to win, possibly. Back in the day, tonics were just really insane. They're still insane today, but just the fact that you could buy this widget that could instantly give you 50 health, and you can use it whatever the situation, wherever you are, and yeah, pretty insane. And it's more or less still the same nowadays. There was an update, I think it was like 2013, where they gave the tonic an animation where you'd basically be doing like a drinking animation, kind of similar to a royal emote. But yeah, it was basically their attempt to stop people from popping a tonic mid-fight, because obviously you do the animation, it was meant to sort of interrupt your shooting, so you wouldn't be able to fire at the same time. But pretty quickly people noticed you could bypass that. You could basically just swap to something else, like a weapon or whatever. Move some keys around, just spam your keyboard, whatever. You could do a lot to cancel that animation, so kind of pointless. They didn't balance it at all, and tonics are to this day pretty insane, to the point where I've got to put it there. Okay, magic. Yep, I think let's keep it like that for now. Yeah, magic is insane. Magic is fun. I like using it in unranked servers. I have used it in unranked a lot of the times over the years. But when you're in a proper game and you're trying to enjoy yourself, and get a bit of enjoyment out of BFH for whatever free time you've got available to you, yeah, magic is not fun to deal with. A few of the widgets here aren't as offensive as magic, or if they're close to it, you can actually somewhat deal with them with an ability, or there's a way to negate it or get out of the way. Magic is very hard to get away from, and it goes, like when you throw it, it flies pretty far and pretty fast. And yeah, the effect is very quick as well. It'll just basically obviously pull anyone into it. And yeah, pretty strong. Obviously, if you get flung into a wall or just anything else, a vehicle, whatever, a house, anything like that, you're just going to take loads of damage. You might even die instantly, to be honest. Yeah, magic is not fun. But it is fun in unranked settings, like I said, if you can use it with tanks when you spawn in vehicles and stuff. Can be pretty cool to see stuff flying around. But for the most part, I think a lot of people would say they hate magic, and it's on their list for, you know, most hated things in the game. Okay, so the jetpack fuel widget, whatever you want to call it. There are obviously different variations of this, but there's no point covering all of them because they're basically the same. Yeah, I'm going to put that in A tier. It's just pretty cool, you know. It's pretty cool to have that extra boost. I think it can help in some situations to escape or to get onto a certain, you know, platform or house or whatever, just anything, you know, if the situation calls for it. Not going to put it at the very top though, because obviously it was kind of gimmicky actually, because you had to get, for the most part, some sort of item for it to work. So whether it was, you know, some shoes, boots, or a jetpack itself, or some other kind of variation of that. Yeah, so that was kind of gimmicky, but it made sense, I guess. But yeah, I didn't use it a whole lot myself, but I did see a lot of potential in it. And yeah, like I said, you could use it to get fairly high. It wasn't like, you know, insane or anything, but it was still, I guess, appreciated. And I think some people did like to use it as well. Okay, so the next one, I'm probably going to go in D tier with the wolf or the vampire claw attack. Yeah, I mean, I really like the set that this came with on the royal side. The wolf set's my favourite set in the game, but the actual widget itself isn't that interesting to me. Very weak damage. I like the kind of animation they put with it, but and the sound, whatever. But as a widget, it's not very useful. The damage is crap. Like I said, there's hardly any range to it. You know, if you can get a kill with this, well done. I mean, it must be pretty humiliating for whoever gets killed by it, and I'm going to say the same soon about something else on this list. But yeah, I like the idea of it. I think it's pretty cool, but no one really used it because it was kind of an afterthought. Just came along with, you know, a bundle with the outfits and stuff for Halloween, and yeah, I just didn't really use it a whole lot, and I don't think many people did anyway. However, having said that, the football, even though it's even more useless in some respects to the vampire attack and the wolf attack because the football does no damage, I find it more fun, more interesting. Came obviously with the football fiesta event. Pretty cool, honestly. Pretty cool just to mess around with. If you see this on the ground, obviously, make sure you kick it. Yeah, pretty cool. The mechanics on it are pretty insane. Like, it flies around pretty quickly and bounces off objects and stuff. And yeah, just kind of cool just to, I guess, take a break momentarily from a proper game if there's one around somewhere, or if you're in an unranked server. It's pretty cool just to mess around with that and you know, go back and forth with it and stuff like that. So yeah, nothing wrong with it. Obviously, I'm not going to put it too high up because I guess it's kind of, again, a bit of a gimmick. But yeah, I have enjoyed using it. All right, so the flare, yeah, I'm going to put that in C because, again, I do like it. I do like the colours. Obviously, they match, you know, both sides. It just doesn't do much, and I haven't had, you know, that much use out of it compared to the football, for example, in terms of stuff that doesn't do damage. Yeah, so, but it's kind of cool still. Kind of nice effect, and it kind of looks, I guess, interesting as well when you hold it out when you're in stealth, because you see like this floating like smoke effect with the flare because the guy's invisible and holding it. But yeah, can't really say too much more about that, but it is, I guess, somewhat interesting. Okay, so the cake, so I'm going to put that in B tier. And I was just saying about the claw attack, it's kind of embarrassing to get killed by something like that. Same goes for the cake. The cake does more damage from what I can tell. Yeah, the cake does more damage. I think it's got a bit more range to it, to be honest, because you actually throw it. You're not just like completely point blank. Yeah, and it's got a pretty funny animation, sound to it, everything. That, you know, they did put a fair bit of effort into it, to be honest, for the that anniversary event when it came out. Yeah, I do like the cake. I'm not going to put it any higher. I know a lot of people, especially more recently, would probably rate it higher, because I think all of a sudden, like, more people decided to use it since the game came back. I don't know why. But yeah, back in the old days, it was kind of, I guess, an afterthought. But you could say that about some more of the things here anyway. But yeah, I do think it's kind of cool. Again, just to mess around with, and if you can get a kill with it, yeah, kind of, I guess, a bit of an achievement, and embarrassing for whoever gets killed. But yeah, the damage isn't awful, but it's still not top tier or anything. The firework, I'm going to put that in B as well. And you might say, why? It's basically the same as the flare. Not really. The firework, it blows up midair. The flare doesn't really like blow up or anything. It just sort of keeps that effect and sort of, you know, stays on the ground. The firework obviously blows up midair when you throw it. And also, if you throw it at the ground, this is just a very minor thing, but this is kind of the reason why I put it a bit higher than the flare. You do actually knock. There's like a slight knockback to it. So yeah, that's literally all I can think of. But yeah, I guess the effect looks cooler as well. And it does look pretty nice on certain maps, you know, to go with the atmosphere or whatever, or, you know, the skyline, etc. Does look pretty interesting. So yeah, that's why I put it slightly higher. It does have a little bit more going for it, in my opinion. Okay, so I was debating with this, the punch widget, but I'm going to put it in S tier. To me, it's either S or A, maybe in between if you could do that. So this is like a mini blasting strike. Obviously, any class can use it. So that's pretty insane to begin with to think, because I obviously in my ability video rated blasting strike in this tier as well. It's not as powerful, obviously, as blasting strike 5, but it's still pretty good, honestly. And if you use that, and you know, you're a soldier, it's kind of useful because you could use it for, you know, replacement to blasting strike if you really didn't want to use blasting strike, or, which is this is a better idea in my opinion, you could use it when blasting strike's on cooldown, so you've just got like another option basically. So that's kind of cool, but obviously as well can be useful on other classes, on gunner, maybe as a last-ditch effort to escape or something. More so on commando though. I think commando would have a bit more use than a gunner with this, but you know, for escape purposes, whatever. And if you're being chased, something like that. But yeah, still pretty decent damage, and it can surprise a few people when you use it. And I do think it's pretty fun overall. Okay, so the firebomb widget, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to go over all the official names, but you get the idea. I'm going to put that in C tier. Again, you know, the damage is okay. It's not crazy. It's not awful. It's just kind of there. And it does have like this cool like burning effect to it as well. And the effects are pretty cool as well when it does explode. But it's very slow. Very slow when you throw it. For some reason, you can throw and launch a keg much quicker and further than this. And yeah, I just don't think it's that insane. Obviously, you know, you can blow it up with certain weapons and other widgets, abilities, whatever, in a combination. And obviously, if you're going to use some of these together and in a combination, it's going to be even better. But on its own, I don't think it's that interesting. Haven't used it too much myself, but yeah, the damage is okay. I wouldn't ever put it at the very bottom here, but yeah, it's just kind of too slow for me, and can't really say much else. I just don't think it's that great. Okay, the throwing knife, I'm gonna put that in D tier. Some people might be annoyed by that, or most of these, to be honest. Yeah, the throwing knife is pretty cool, honestly. I was saying about, you know, being able to get a kill with the cake or the claw attack. Getting a kill with the throwing knife, especially from range, is actually pretty impressive. I think I've only seen it happen once or twice, but and I haven't done that myself. I just haven't used it a lot, but still, that would be very difficult to do if I did try and use it a lot. Yeah, the throwing knife, again, the damage isn't crazy. It's not awful either, but to me, it's just really gimmicky, and I know most of these are, and I'm repeating myself, but yeah, it's really hard to use. Why would you use it unless you were trying to challenge yourself like massively? Because you could literally use most other weapons and approaches in the game, even a lot of other widgets here, to do the same amount of damage, if not more, or a better effect, whatever, something like that. If you can kill someone with it, it's a pretty cool moment. Okay, so the present, to my knowledge, this is basically just a reskin, so I guess it's my fault for adding it here, but I guess it's, you know, it was released to try and look different. I don't know, but yeah, as far as I know, these are basically the same thing. So not much else to say here. Okay, so the festive egg, I'm going to put that in A tier. The reason for that is because I have used it a lot. I liked, you know, the update it came with as well, and yeah, they are pretty cool to use. It's like a mini troop trap basically. Damage can be okay, especially I've said obviously some of these get better with whatever you're going to put them with, but obviously a combination of a lot of these explosive type widgets with troop traps and stuff, the like, things like that, can be very interesting. Yeah, so the egg, can't really say much else. I do think it's very useful, and can also help you get to higher up places if you needed to use it for that purpose. But yeah, just is kind of like a budget troop trap if you didn't want to use them on commando, or you just wanted, I guess, a bit of extra firepower there. Pirate keg. This is going to be a really difficult choice now. S tier. Yeah, the pirate keg is insane. So the main, I don't say the main thing. There are a lot of things that are insane about this, but the thing that stood out to me the most when this widget got introduced was the fact that you couldn't use IEG to stop it. Now I can understand people saying, "Oh, well, I spent money or VP or whatever on this widget, so I'm wasting it because." I threw it and someone used a free ability to get rid of it, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like there should have been something like that in some capacity, because once it gets thrown down, unless you blast it or you get out of the way, or use some other very specific means, it's gonna do a lot of, well, not, I don't want to say damage, because actually the keg itself, the damage isn't crazy. The main thing about it is the knockback and the force. And it does have a burn effect to it as well, which is kind of nice. Does sort of add up and help. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And honestly, yeah, if you combine that with a regular keg as well, throw them down near enough at the same time and the same location, you can do a lot of damage. And even on its own, if you throw it down, obviously I'm assuming you're using them as a gunner with the RPG, but they can work really for any class. But yeah, you just throw it down, blow it up, and someone's like next to a house or whatever, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to take a lot of damage or they're going to die instantly. But yeah, I think the knockback effect is what a lot of people would say is annoying about this. But yeah, pretty strong and pretty dangerous to face multiple pirate kegs. So the speed boots, I'm going to put those in A tier. Now, again, I guess gimmicky because you need the actual boots for them to work. But yeah, basically, back in the day, in the original game, this was kind of unbalanced because only the Royals had this kind of widget. The Nationals, during that update where they brought this widget out, the Nationals got another kind of jetpack reskin widget, basically. So the Royals were the only ones that could use this. As well as that, only soldiers can use this. But I believe more recently, since the game's come back, there was another version of this made for the Nationals. So basically now it's a bit more balanced in that both sides can use it. And but it's still, to my knowledge, a soldier only thing. But I don't really have a problem with that because I've said many times before, soldier is the class that has the least mobility, has a lot of problems getting around with, base movement speed. The other classes can increase their speed quite easily. Yeah, so it does kind of fit the soldier. It is just so useful, to give yourself a free legate, basically. And it does actually make you go very quick, to be honest. And I suppose the length of it isn't too bad either. It does last for a pretty long time. But yeah, that in itself, just getting a free legate. I think most of the widgets that kind of imitate or mock certain abilities are actually some of the best. And actually thinking about it now, I do think it was changed more recently so that you can use it whatever class you are from memory. Or I may just be getting mixed up with, because there have been so many versions of Battlefield Heroes and stuff that have come back. But yeah, basically, it is pretty insane. Whatever class or however we're going to be able to use it, whatever, it is pretty insane to have that. And very useful in a lot of situations. But if I'm talking from the old game, the soldier needed it, definitely. Sucks that it was royal only. But yeah, very useful. Obviously, you can't share it like proper legate with teammates, but it was very useful to get to certain spots quicker, or to go and help out quicker to get back into the fight or escape, whatever. Just basically most of the reasons why you use legate. Okay, so the ramming jeep. I'm gonna put it in S tier. Yeah, the ramming jeep widget was insane. Essentially, it would just give the jeep such a massive speed boost to the point where you could actually just one-shot tanks. You could basically, you know, use the widget, you drive, towards the tank, you'd have like a head-on collision, and unless the tank, obviously, the person in the tank could react in time and just, shoot and fire back at the Jeep, you could pretty much just completely destroy the tank and obviously kill the person inside it. Really insane. The speed was insane. Not even just for that purpose, just for taking out a tank, for example, just to getting around places. Was very useful as well. Did give you quite an advantage if you're using it to get to a flag or some other kind of objective. I'm mostly putting it this high though because of the tank situation. Just the idea that you can just one-shot a tank is insane to me. Okay, so the Jeep jump, I'm going to put that slightly lower in A. I'm putting that slightly lower just because it wasn't as insane as the speed boost, as the ramming Jeep. But they did pair very well together. If you sped up first, then use the jump, you could obviously cover some great distances. But on its own, not as impressive, but I still used it a fair bit in Unranked especially, and I did like it a lot. And obviously it's pretty hilarious to use that and then land, and if someone was underneath the Jeep, all of a sudden you could just kill them instantly. That was kind of hilarious. And not terrible in getting higher up on certain areas as well. Obviously though, using the two together was preferred, and they did work well together. Okay, so the robot charge, I'm going to call it. I know it's got a different name, but we're just going to go with that. So obviously this came out with the, the brass bender, destroyer drone, outfits, whatever. I know I didn't say I was going to use the proper name, but I just said all that. Yeah, pretty cool, I guess. It was basically a gimmick where you would do like a slight animation, and like a bit of a charge up, and then you'd run in a direction, and then you'd basically either hit something and it would explode, and there'd be sort of a bit of a knockback, or it would just explode after a set amount of time anyway. Wasn't that insane from memory. I didn't use it a lot. I didn't see a lot of people use it. Didn't do a lot of damage, but I thought it was, I guess, still kind of interesting. Not much else to say, really. Not much more I can say about it. Apart from I did find it hilarious. There was like a bug you could do with it. If you interrupted it by hitting someone with the beehive, you'd kind of get stuck in like an animation, in like a state, and then you'd like go flying at like the fastest speed possible in the game, and eventually you'd die because obviously you'd hit something, you'd take collision damage, whatever. But yeah, that was kind of amusing, but I can't really base it off of that because it was just a weird specific bug that not many people knew about and wasn't really the main focus of it, whatever. But yeah, I guess still not too awful for me to put it in the lower tier here, but yeah, you could definitely make an argument for it being pretty low. Okay, so I'm going to put all of the pocket vehicles in S tier. All of the pocket vehicles are pretty insane. Being able to just spawn a vehicle wherever you wanted to. Obviously, it had to be a map where that vehicle was available anyway. Because imagine putting a helicopter or a tank on Victory Village, that would be fun, wouldn't it? But yeah, honestly, it was just insane. Mostly because of the mechanic and how they didn't balance it, I guess, because you could basically spawn, let's say, a pocket tank. Now, people did do this. I'm not suggesting people do it now, but I'm just, it's an example here. So, say you got onto a hill on Buccaneer Bay, for example, and you then spawned a tank on the hill using the widget, and then you could stay in the tank on that hill for as long as you wanted to, if you really wanted to play like that, and some people did for some reason, I know. And you could basically just keep going, keep using the tank, and if the tank was low, someone eventually saw you, did a bit of damage to the tank, you might think, oh yeah, you could just wrench, it's fine, whatever, but obviously eventually that tactic runs out. But basically you could, as long as the cooldown had come back, you could get out of the tank that was weakened and then get into an entirely new one, and it had full health. And this was really unbalanced, and a lot of people did kind of abuse this. Mostly for the tank, but I guess with the helicopter as well. Not so much the Jeep. The Jeep was just kind of not as offensive, but I still consider them all to be insane. But yeah, the fact that they didn't make the cooldown happen once the vehicle was destroyed, or once you got out of it, whatever. and it was, you couldn't go back in it, you had to wait for another one, something like that. It was just completely game breaking. You know, they didn't really think it through properly at all. Just an oversight, whatever. But yeah, very insane. And it goes without saying, the helicopter, you know, crazy damage, insane splash, whatever. Bit of a glass cannon, but yeah. And the tank, you know, it writes itself. It speaks for itself. Okay, so the chair smack. Again, this is another kind of pretty hilarious, funny one, but yeah, didn't use it too much. Again, pretty cool animation, whatever. But the damage was pretty weak, and again, like, you didn't have a lot of room to work with to use it, to get hits on people. You know, it's kind of point blank. I want to say slightly better than the wolf claw. Just again, just a bit of one of those that doesn't really add much, doesn't really do a whole lot. Just sort of went along with a release of a certain theme. You know, I believe it was like a wrestling sort of luchador theme, something like that. So it made sense, but yeah, it's didn't really do a whole lot. Again, though, make the point about if you got killed by it, you should feel embarrassed. Okay. So next, the XP boost. I'm going to put that in, I don't know, I guess B tier. Actually, no, let's put it in A tier. The XP boost, obviously, back in the day, if you were a premium member, you could get, you know, those insane XP boosts that would stack for like a better price. I mean, and you'd get like a default XP boost on all your heroes anyway. But yeah, obviously you could still buy all of them in the store back in the day, you know, stack them all. That was crazy. But the XP boost on its own is still very good, very helpful. Personally, I didn't use it a whole lot on all of my heroes. There were certain heroes back in the day where I definitely wanted to use it on. Mostly commandos, or just something that I was kind of in a rush to level up with, just to get, you know, to a certain milestone or ability, whatever, something like that. So, and I think generally most people would say they've used XP boosts in some capacity, and do think they're useful. It was definitely needed, I think, in some situations if people weren't enjoying a class too much. Like I've said before, I don't enjoy commando as much as the other two, but, you know, I still felt like I had fun with it, but the points just came by very slowly, so the XP boost was really quite needed. So yeah, all right, the VP boost, let's put that in B tier here, just because, you know, it was very useful for a lot of people, especially if you were free to play. You relied heavily on using VP to rent certain things, weapons mostly. Very useful to have one of these. If you had a VP boost back in the old game, where obviously the VP boost would be, you know, account wide, it would count for every single hero you had. So you could basically do the daily mission on all of your heroes, and obviously the more heroes you had, if you bought more slots, the better for VP. But assuming you had a lot of slots, I mean, that's not really free to play as such, but doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, you could just get a lot of VP back, and it would sort of make up for buying one. You'd make the money back, and you'd make a profit. I didn't use it as much as most people would, so I'm not going to put it much higher than this. But yeah, definitely, again, pretty good value. So the fireproof underpants, let's put those in A tier, just because I've said in the past anyway about, you know, burning bullets. This is one of the things that you kind of hate to see. When you have burning bullets, especially on a high level. There's not much else you can say about it. They're just there to stop one ability in particular, and they do a good job at it. It reduces the damage considerably. If you're a gunner, or even a commando, you know, and you use elixir or hero shield, and you get burned, and you have the fireproof underpants. If you use shield, you'll actually heal, instead of, you know, taking a lot less damage. You'll actually heal instead, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm not going to put it any higher, just because from a personal standpoint, you're going to notice, well, I mean, I noticed, especially, if you have them, obviously they do their job, but you run out of them pretty quickly. Even if there's just only a couple of soldiers in the game with burning bullets, you know, you do get through them pretty quickly. Okay, finally, the stamina boost. I'm going to put that in B tier. Basically, very useful. You know, gives you extra HP, extra health, on top of your base amount. 10 for each class. Obviously, this this is more important depending on what class you use. Obviously, I use Gunner the most, so I don't think it makes a huge difference on Gunner personally. Obviously, you could argue in a 1v1 situation, if both players have the same skill level and they don't get too much like variation in the damage, the one guy who's got the 10 extra health will probably win. I know that's not always the case, but you could say that. But yeah, for me personally, I didn't use it a whole lot. Didn't go out of my way to get it. I actually forget buying it nowadays. I forget to buy it. But yeah, still very useful. That HP can make a difference. You know, that extra health can make a difference sometimes, depending on the situation. And especially, I think, as a commando, it is noticeable when you go from 80 to 90 health. I think that is a pretty big increase and can stop you from certain dangerous situations, let's say. It's more impactful, in my opinion, on the class I don't use the most, so it's not going to be any higher, but I still think it's pretty good. Like I said, widgets, kind of interesting. They do make a difference. Certain ones are borderline game breaking. Some of them here are just kind of humorous, you know, not very harmful. They're just there for a bit of fun. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And some of them obviously do make a big impact and can cover up for certain weaknesses that a class might have. But yeah, so that was about it. And yeah, I'll be back with another tier list pretty soon, hopefully. I'm trying to still think of stuff I can do, obviously. If you've got ideas, let me know. But I've got a few ideas in the works anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.